Hello everyone! Today I will be painting a page in my sketchbook. As you can see, there's already a brief sketch of it, so let's get right into it. One of the reasons I decided to paint today is that I actually made it one of my goals for 2020 to paint more. Painting is one of those things that I enjoy doing, but I don't get to do that often. So for this year, I really would like to change that. That being so, you can expect to see quite a few painting videos from me in the future. As it's been a while since I've painted, it's really taken me a while to get back into the swing of things. Throughout this video, you'll see me struggle quite a bit trying to make things look right. I layer a lot and am very impatient for the paint to dry. But I get there eventually, so you'll just have to sit here and struggle through it like I did. Anyways, what I'm doing here is laying down the base work of what's to come. I haven't painted on a bunch of paper surfaces, so it was kind of new to me. The paper was really soaking up any paint I had laid down. So whatever I did first had to be the layer that kind of sealed the top of the paper so more can be put down without it soaking in. Which isn't really a big deal because the base layer for me is always trying to lay down the colors that will be under the skin. So for this one I did more of a greeny hue as the base layer. That way any colors laid on top of it will still have an olive skin tone to it. At least that's what I think in theory. I've never had any proper training and I haven't watched any painting tutorials or anything, so this is really just things I've somehow happened upon throughout all the years of me painting by myself, so you'll see some things that are probably not the correct way, but whatever. I kind of like just figuring things out on my own and finding what works for me because, I don't know, I like things to be difficult, I guess. As I mentioned in my previous video, the beginnings of my paintings are things I do not like. They are very blocky and unattractive to look at. I mean, when you see the stage that this painting is at right now, it can be really hard to imagine it getting better. Most of the time I kind of just want to abandon it at this point and give up on any artistic dreams that I have. But sticking with it and continuing usually results in something better, so I guess that's important to remember. The more highlights and little details that I add to the face will really change how it looks real quick. I'm not really sure how other artists do it. I feel like they have more foresight and are better at planning ahead, and that's probably why they don't go through these stages. But once again, self-trained here. I really should probably look up some ways of avoiding this step. But I also think that's just how my mind works. I'm not really good at planning ahead or anything like that. Creating something from nothing is quite difficult. I can imagine little pieces at a time, but never quite the complete end result that I want. So much of my creative process is just building off of one thing to the next. My mind works in layers and I just can't seem to get around that. Have you guys noticed that one of the things I struggle with is lips? I did that lip study in my old sketchbook, and I think I need to keep doing that. These lips, I promise, do get better. It just takes a little bit. You might be wondering why I keep going over the same exact spots a million times. What I'm doing is taking really thinned out paint. In this case, it's white, I believe, or a very light skin tone. And I am just hitting all the high points of the face. So once again, things like the eyebrow and the nose and the edge of the lips, so that they really pop forward in the painting. The reason I do very thin light colors like this is so that they blend easier. I'm not big on brush strokes in my paintings, at least for the face. So this is something I do a lot to really make my transitions more subtle. I do think I need to find a better balance between soft and hard edges, though, so I can really push the shapes in my paintings. But hey, look, we're finally out of that phase where the painting looks really creepy and is finally starting to look like something. I guess all those layers really pay off. Do me a favor and ignore those teeth for now. I'll fix them a little bit later, but they'll only get marginally better. And now we move on to the neck and body. I didn't really discuss what I was doing when I was painting the face, so this is a good opportunity to show you what I'm doing here. Right now I am adding pinks and purples on top of the base layer of yellow and green. I'm not completely sure why I do it this way, but I've noticed that it gets the results that I want. Skin is quite splotchy and full of different colors, and having a bunch of different colors layered on top of each other kind of gets that result. Put it as one of those things that I really should look up and learn more about. If you haven't noticed, the purples go where shadows would be, and the pinks go where highlights are. I'm much more loose with my painting style when it comes to anything other than the face. I'd like to say it's an artistic choice rather than just pure laziness. After all that blending and time on the face, I kind of just want to get the rest done. It's a bad habit that I should probably break, but usually bad habits are what dictates style, so maybe not. I don't really have much more to say regarding painting. It's very much of the same thing over and over again. I'll jump around from the body to the face a few times and add more highlights and details and whatnot. So enjoy the silence for a while. Well, maybe not the complete silence because there is music playing. By the way, I know she has no eyebrows. Originally I had planned to do them later on, but I kind of like her without eyebrows. I think it's more mysterious that way. Some of you might have noticed that my colors can be pretty strong. Those oranges are quite vibrant. You might have also noticed that I do kind of a whitewash over them, which seems to work to mellow them out and even the skin tone. I guess you could say it's kind of like putting foundation over a blemish. It doesn't completely get rid of the blemish, but it makes it more even and more acceptable to be there, I suppose. Here's me cleaning up my edges again. For a lack of planning, my first sketch layer is really just kind of a rough go at it. Proportions are more off than they should be, so when I paint, I go off of tonal values to really decide where things should be. So the end result is usually outside of what my sketch is. Therefore, when I do my background, aka just black paint, because I'm boring, I like to cut in and correct the shapes. Unfortunately, this is the point where I realized I can't move any further without doing the hair, which isn't really my favorite thing to do. You'll also notice from this point on that I'm a really lazy artist. The last portion of this painting will be very rushed and I'll have very little patience to wait for paint to dry. But more on that later. I've chosen a very lovely, what I'm calling periwinkle blue, for the hair, because normal hair is boring hair. And if I can't have fun hair, then at least my paintings can. And back to black we go. Painting the background black took a lot longer than what I thought it would, because the paint kept soaking into the paper. So you're going to see a lot of me just going over the same spots trying to get it flat. This is where I start to add some shadows and highlights to the hair, just to give it a little bit more depth than what it was. I really should have waited to do this step. As you can see, the paint that I just painted the background with isn't quite dry, which means that it kept dragging into the hair color. It's not a big deal because it kind of helps to fade the hair into the background and make it less chunky. Similar to when it comes to the body, I am much more painterly with the hair. Normally I'd go back in with some colored pencils and add individual hair like details, but since this is in my sketchbook, I wanted it to be a little bit more relaxed and kept the painterly look for this one. As I get closer to finishing this painting, you'll see me mess with the background a lot more. Right now I'm just trying to make it fit on the page better and make it not look like it's not finished. It's another thing that I don't really plan out before I start painting, I just kind of do when it's at that point. You might notice that the lighting in this is really odd right now. For some reason it got really blown out when I was filming. I try to make it less blinding, but it still has that weird flat sections of colors. You'll get a better view of what it really looks like when it comes to the end shots. Right now I'm tackling the bottom half of how I want it to be framed. I didn't really want it to be very confined like the edges of the painting where it's just straight. So I decided to do the image like it's kind of melting off of the page. I wasn't being very particular about matching the colors, so it's not the best, but it's good enough for just my sketchbook. And with that over, it's complete. Here's a better view of what it looks like. I was debating whether or not I should go back in and add more details, but I like it being more loose and sketchy, especially since it's in my sketchbook. There are definitely areas that I would like to improve in, and that's okay. It's all part of the learning process. Anyways, that's it for this video. I've been told that I should plug my Instagram. It's always in the description, but for those of you who don't look there, you can find any of my art posts, especially the ones that I may not make a video about, over at shunter_art. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.